I'm Tristan Tiggeloven. I'm one of the producers and creative directors for the On Foot mobile app, which offers immersive self-guided walking tours here in Toronto and also currently in Amherstburg, Ontario, with plans to continue expanding to new cities around the world. Today's talk is going to focus on some of the amazing ways you can enhance the tourism and exploration experience of a locale and bring life to places of cultural and historical significance through the use of technology and AR/VR elements. In addition, we'll talk about some of the considerations or obstacles you would need to think about when you're undertaking the creation of site-specific geolocative apps, and we'll be talking through these topics with a focus on the On Foot app. Now, as many of you know, there's been an explosion in geolocative apps, especially those with integrations with AR and VR. Possibly the most famous example is Niantic's Pokemon Go, which has been downloaded over 1 billion times and in 2020 made over $1 billion in revenue. If you've tried Pokemon Go or similar style apps, you know that they offer great experiences that lend an element of fantasy to the real world. Oftentimes, though, these apps aren't meant to meaningfully highlight what is at the location that it's driving you to. But this same technology can be used to enhance and highlight the history and culture of a locale. This is what we were thinking when we started On Foot. Now, originally, On Foot was not planned to be a self-guided walking tour platform that it is today, but was originally envisioned as a haunted walk tour app. Now, I became involved with the project because of my background as a haunted walk tour guide and my work with Xenophile Media on their AR app called Time Tremors AGO, which took place at the Art Gallery of Ontario here in Toronto. Time Tremors AGO is a great example of a geolocative app that was meant to highlight and enhance a cultural institution. It was launched in 2013, and it was a very early example of an AR app meant to lead visitors to the AGO on a scavenger hunt through the building using text clues to drive users to specific works of art where they would then interact with the work, often with a Where's Waldo style question or AR puzzle. Now, to show you how that works, I can just play you a little snippet of the trailer.
The Time Tremors AGO app transforms a visit to the Art Gallery of Ontario into an exciting educational treasure hunt.
We need your help to locate time treasures here at the Art Gallery of Ontario.
Help our heroes, Max and Meaty, as they travel through time in search of incredible objects from history.
Found it! Oh, really? Already?
Only these time treasures have the power to defeat the evil Miss Bugley. Available for iOS and Android phones and tablets, the Time Tremors Treasure Hunt sends kids and families on an amazing quest through the museum's collection. Use incredible augmented reality games to make amazing discoveries and solve the Time Tremors mysteries.
We thought this sounded like a really cool opportunity to combine technology and art and learning.
I didn't think it was going to be this much fun.
You can also find the Time Tremors Infinity game and TV series.
Yeah, I'll just can stop that there because then it talks about the rest of the project. But yeah, at that time, AR was largely image recognition based, and the paintings at the AGO provided a great way for us to use established culturally significant artwork and then use technology in a way to encourage users to interact and look deeper at that work. The app did a great job of encouraging kids and getting them to study the works of art through technology. Now, with our Haunted Walk app that would later become On Foot, we wanted to take this same kind of technology, take it outside, and use it to solve some of the challenges that come from traditional walking tours. Having been a tour guide for traditional walking tours, common complaints are a lack of access to buildings on tours, the seasonal and timed nature of the tours, and the quality of your tour guides. Now, we wanted to solve those issues by creating a self-guided walking tour app that would let you take a tour whenever you wanted, use VR to take you inside of buildings you might not be able to get into, and hire professional voice actors to voice our tours. In addition, we wanted to include images to let users see photographs of a location at different time periods or illustrations to accent the story they were listening to, and then integrate AR elements. So for example, on a haunted tour, you could put a ghost on the street in front of you, or a life-size 3D gallows in a park where they used to hang people. In 2016, with help from Ontario Creates and NSERC IRAP, we were able to build a prototype to try and test out these features. Through it, we learned a lot. Originally, we had hoped that we could create an AR-driven tour app where, using a 3D style map, we could guide you to points of interest and then use AR to try and launch all these different experiences. Now, this following trailer shows you an idea of what we had hoped to build, and you can also see a much younger me.
Welcome to the Haunted Walk mobile app. You are about to embark on a spooky, self-guided tour that will focus on the darker history of the neighborhood around you and any ghostly occurrences that entails.
So you can see that prototype was a largely AR-driven experience. However, we learned, especially at the time when we were making it, that AR VR technology was pretty limited and that we'd need to make it a feature, but not the core of our experience. At that time, vertical plane tracking wasn't a thing, so our dreams of putting ghosts in the window wasn't feasible, and even horizontal tracking could prove difficult in certain lighting conditions. Also, our idea of launching experiences through an AR camera, though it worked, led to a pretty significant battery drain on a device. And with VR, we discovered, as cool as it was to create an explorable 3D environment, the file size of that 3D model would bloat our app. And then we wound up deciding to use 360-degree photographs instead when we did on foot. In the end, we discovered, like any good walking tour, the key was a good story, told well, and anything else added needed to enhance that story. After that, we were able, with the help of Factor, Ontario Creates, and the Canada Media Fund, to design a scalable content management system that could launch tours anywhere in the world in our app titled On Foot. It meant we had to tone down the thematic elements of the app, but it also meant that we were able to create an app and content management system that would let us launch and update tours anywhere in the world without the need of the App Store. Because we decided to stream in content into our app, file sizing was probably our biggest concern, making sure that our tours never really exceeded the size of an average podcast. I know some countries have better data plans, and Canada's getting better, but you never want to accidentally eat up a person's data without warning. Now I prepared a short video to show you how the On Foot app works, and I'll talk you through kind of each of its features. So when you open up the On Foot app, initially it's going to ask you which language you'd like to take your tours in, and you'll go through the terms of service and our intro screens. But once you get through that, you'll land on a list of all of our available tours. Here you can look through what's available in your city. It's geo-locative based. There's also a map option, so you can look at where these tours start and where they take place. Once you've decided on which tour you want to start, we have a preview screen. You can look through what the tour will offer. And if you decide that you want to take that tour, you'll click start. After that, you will receive an intro story.
Welcome to the On Foot Toronto Ghost Tour. This tour will explore the sinister stories and hair-raising history of one of Toronto's most haunted neighborhoods.
And then you'll land on a map that will guide you to your tour stops. You'll also have the option, if you don't want to go on site, to use a list view to kind of just click through each of the tour stops. However, if you do choose to use the map, when you arrive at a location, it will ping you, and then you can start your audio story.
In 1803, as the town of York's population burgeoned,
these audio stories also offer a text option
as a public market where local merchants could
if you want to read through them. Once you finish the audio story, you land on our Discover More screen, and that will allow you to launch different experiences, such as our image gallery. Here you can look at photographs, read a bit more about them from captions, and if you really like them, you can save these or share them out across various social platforms. Also from our Discover More screen, we have a number of other experiences, including VR photospheres. So once you start one of these, you'll be able to kind of look around the interior of a building on your device that you might not be able to get into while you're out on your tour. So this is the St. Lawrence Market. While you're in there, you can also take photographs inside the photosphere and save and share those similar to images in our image gallery. We also let you save these experiences, which you'll see in a second, and add to a save feature we have, so you can kind of collect your favorite experiences without having to go through a tour to launch them. We also offer augmented reality. So using this, you'll point your camera at the ground. Once it's noticed where the ground is, you can place your object and anchor it in place. And then when you take a few steps back, you'll be able to see it. This is an example of a 3D model of stocks. You can then take photographs with AR models and save or share those out across your social platforms. We also do a few different types of AR experiences. So here's an example of what our ghosts look like. You can kind of walk up and take photos with them. They're great with their translucency for taking photographs. We also animate paintings if there's a painting that we think is significant. We want to add a bit more to the story. And as I mentioned, any of these things that you save go to a save feature where you can kind of scroll through all your favorite things from a tour and look at those without having to go through the actual tour itself. Now, to date, we've launched 8 tours in the app, and they're a mix of paid and free tours, with the majority of them being available in English, French, and Mandarin. We have 3 haunted tours in Toronto: our Distillery District Tour, Old Toronto Tour, and Downtown Tour. We also have a haunted tour in Amherstburg, Ontario. We also offer a Hidden History of West Queen West tour, showing the neighborhood and how that neighborhood has changed from the 70s to today. We have a Graffiti Alley Tour that's told through interviews with graffiti artists. And then we have 2 music tours: a Spadina Music Tour that showcases iconic music venues along Spadina Avenue, and the Gaybourhood Music Tour, which focuses on the history of LGBTQ+ music venues and artists here in Toronto. Now, we had planned to create 2 haunted tours in Tokyo, Japan, and we were about halfway through completing them when, unfortunately, due to COVID, our local partner was unable to finish the work with us, and we did have to drop those tours. As was mentioned, though, in some good news, this year, On Foot was named a finalist for both the Best in Location-Based Entertainment at the Augie Awards and for Best Collaboration for an Independent Business Operator at the Ontario Tourism Resiliency Awards for our work with the town of Amherstburg on our old Amherstburg Ghost Tour. Now, when building geolocative apps, some of the benefits of those are they can bring a touch of magic to the world. There really is a sense of magic and exploration you can feel when you're playing with AR and VR. Having a ghost on the street when you take a photograph or seeing inside of a theater that's not open to the public unless you buy a ticket is something that technology can do that a lot of experiences just can't offer. Even something less technically challenging and as simple as showing photographs to people while they're on location can have a bigger impact than you think. You can promote local businesses. Even the tour route alone will drive foot traffic by local businesses, but you can tie in with those locations, offer them as tour locations on your tour. You can offer discounts for people, maybe show the app to the store clerk. You can access cross-promotional opportunities and more. You can really embed your app as part of the community. Also, multi-attraction tourism and promoting unique attractions. Similar to above, you can drive foot traffic to different attractions through the city with great diversity in what people see, such as taking people through a park, past a museum or a gallery, in front of a monument, by your local performance venue, and more. There are no time restrictions, so unless you are working with an institution, your app is available at any time a user wants, giving them the freedom to explore on their own terms. Working with local tourism organizations, you don't necessarily need to compete with local attractions, but you can partner with them. So our old Amherstburg Ghost Tour was actually commissioned by the town of Amherstburg as a socially distant attraction during COVID, and we worked with them to promote local attractions and businesses within the app. Our haunted tours in Toronto and our canceled Tokyo tours were partnerships with local haunted walk tour organizations where they provided the stories and then we created the digital experiences in a revenue sharing arrangement with cross promotion. For analytics, we can offer pretty robust analytics. We can tell exactly where users are walking, what sites they're visiting, which tour stops and experiences are the most popular, and more, and you can offer those to people that you're working with. So some of the competitive advantages that On Foot has over to the traditional walking tours, which we've kind of touched on, is our tours are a lower cost to the user. We have stronger presentations with better consistency. You're not relying on a tour guide and how good is this specific tour guide over other ones. Greater audiovisual content, the increased access to locations. There's heightened interactivity and immersion. We're available year round. We're lower cost to operate. it's quite a bit easier for us to expand and scale. It's easier for us to launch a tour in another country than it is to set up an office and hire tour guides. There's increased shareability because you can share straight out of the app. And there's the potential for in-app advertising revenue and sponsorship opportunities. Great, but things to consider. So, all this being said, there are plenty of things to consider if you're thinking of creating a geolocative app. Depending on the type of app, some of these will apply more than others, but these are questions you should ask yourself if you're going to try and build a geolocative app. What software are you building in? When we started this project, we built it in Unity because of its cross-platform capabilities, and at the time, it was one of the best softwares for creating AR experiences. However, as we got deeper into the project and moved farther away from AR being the core experience, we realized that Unity was likely not the best platform for us to have built in, as a large part of our experience is menu-based, and Unity proved to not be the best software to build responsive menus. It works for our needs. However, if we were to build this same app today, we would likely not use Unity, except to maybe parcel out the AR and VR elements. What are our mobile devices' restraints? Things are rapidly changing. Technology is always getting better, but the moment you build an AR VR app, you are going to be limiting the number of devices that can run your apps, specifically on Android. On Apple, pretty much anything under an iPhone 7 won't reliably run AR. If you are working on an indoor app at an institution, the nice positive of that is that you can often arrange loaner devices similar to audio guides for people who might not be able to run the app on their phones. Something to consider is what services are you using? One of our biggest complaints coming out of user testing was concerns about battery usage. Between GPS location services, AR's use of the camera, if a user is using Bluetooth headphones, you'll find that pretty quickly, phone's battery is going to go down when someone's taking a tour. Connectivity, does your app require data or Wi-Fi to operate? It's something to think about. For us, we wound up requiring it, which means we don't really have an offline mode. GPS is notoriously unreliable, especially in big cities. Here in Toronto, any of our tours that touched on Yonge Street, you could rely on the user's position to start bouncing around. Now, there is fine-tuning you can do with that with map services about how sensitive you want to make the geolocation. But ultimately, you should try to figure out other ways to assist your user and warn them that their position could be off. For us, we always included an image of the building you were supposed to be looking at, because even though GPS takes you to a point, it doesn't exactly tell you where to look. We did look into some solutions for this. We looked at Bluetooth beacons. Didn't really work out for us in terms of using them outside, but if you were working with an institution, those might work nicely. And also institutions might just let you put physical markers up inside to help guide people through the institution. GPS isn't something that works well indoors, but it's often quite easier to navigate the indoors of a building, and there are maps or other solutions that you can use. Data usage. Generally, you don't want your app to have a large initial download size from the App Store, as that can be a barrier to entry. But if you're requiring content to be downloaded after the fact like we do, you need to be aware of file sizing. Video files are notoriously large compared to audio and images. We could have designed hyper-realistic 3D models, but the more detailed a model, the larger the file becomes. Headsets, are you designing for them? Obviously, in the future, headsets are coming for AR and VR, but currently there aren't a lot of consumer headsets on the market, especially for people going outside and using them. But if it's something you want to plan for, you should plan for that. And App Store updates. Do you have a developer on hand to tackle any issues that might arise due to operating system updates? We discovered this year our AR component completely broke for Android users who started using the new Android 11 software, and we had to fix that issue. The reason the Time Termers AGO app was ultimately taken down was that updates were needed to make the app continue to work, and the company that was producing it didn't have a budget to support it anymore, and the AGO decided they didn't want to pay for the work to keep it active, so it was taken down. How permanent are your cultural sites? We ran into this on both our Graffiti Alley Tour for On Foot and on the Time Termers app. They're completely different experiences, but they suffered from a similar problem. With Graffiti Alley, obviously graffiti changes, people paint over it or tag it. Even buildings can come down, especially here in Toronto with all the condos going up. For the AGO, the issue was curators would change what was on exhibit. And if you're doing a scavenger hunt and then suddenly your painting disappears, users become stuck and they cannot continue to progress on your hunt. You can try and negotiate this with the institutions, but you should always be thinking about permanence and how to adapt if what you're doing is not going to be permanent. What's weather like? If you're doing an outdoor tour, especially in Canada, this has an effect. People are less likely to go on your tour in winter. That's why we built in a list view function so people could try out our tour sites without actually having to go on site. And also AR functionality and lighting conditions. AR is getting a lot better, but when you're mapping your GPS points, you may want to look for well-lit areas, even if it means moving the user a bit off where you want them, but underneath like a street lamp that you found while you're walking the route. Yeah, how will you get your users on site, and is your app usable from home? So one thing to remember is the nature of apps that highlight cultural sites is that they're hyper-localized. It can result in limiting your audience, because if I need to be on site in Toronto to experience it, it means the rest of the world may not be interested unless I design an at-home experience. Even getting users who live in your city to the start of your tour can be difficult, as users can download your app, see that they need to travel, and either forget or never get around to trying it. I've talked about the advantages of apps versus traditional tours, but one advantage that traditional tours have is they tend to have an office where they can attract attention or have people out front attracting visitors. Trying to stand out in large cities can be tougher. To date, our most popular tour is our Amherstburg tour because it's a unique experience that's offered in a small town. Also thinking about the pandemic that we've all lived through, but when you design an on-site experience, if the entire world shuts down, you'll find that usage of your app is going to go down dramatically. We had to hold launching a number of our tours and our marketing during the pandemic because we didn't think that it'd be effective. And also ethically, how could we tell people to go outside when we knew we all had to stay in? Now that we know more about the virus, this type of experience is great for social distancing, but still people are only slowly going back out there. That being said, AR and VR apps, they're only going to get bigger and the technology is only going to advance. Looking at some of the market insights, travel-related apps are the 7th most downloaded type of apps in the app stores. 60% of the 1.7 billion smartphone users worldwide have downloaded travel-related apps, and 45% of the same group are going to use mobile apps to plan future holidays. 85% of tourists use their smartphones while traveling. 58% of travel apps are used at least monthly, and Adobe Digital Insights found that social mentions for travel and AR-related experiences have increased 13% year over year. That's pretty much my presentation. If anyone is interested in trying On Foot, you can find us on the App Store and Google Play. The easiest way is to just go to on-foot.com, where you can find the App Store links and read up about our tour offerings.